How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? We back again. This is Mississippi Vibes with Bert, and we have a special evening tonight. We got a topic. We're talking about domestic violence. Domestic violence. It's going to be a great show tonight. I got two wonderful ladies that's doing remarkable things in Memphis, Tennessee. Miss Gail Bruce, she's a member of Be True, and the head lady in charge, Miss Sherry BOUGARD. So I'm gonna bring them on in a second, and we're gonna get this thing started so we can have a good time, and we're gonna go from there. And everything we're gonna do what we do. Once again, this show is dedicated always to my partner, Jason Minor, my ace. So I'm finna bring him in. We're going. Hope you enjoy the show. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
How y'all doing?
We're doing good.
We have Miss Gail Bruce and the head lady in charge, Miss Cheryl BOUGARD.
Sherry,
I done did it again. And I just said, I apologize. I don't know. I apologize once again. Hey, but tonight we're talking about domestic violence, how it has been a thorn in the Black African American community for years. And, domestic violence is the willful intimidation, physical assault, battery, sexual assault, and or abusive behavior as part of a symptomatic pattern of power and control betrayed by one intimate partner against another. It includes physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional abuse. So, Ms. BOUGARD.
Yes.
I would like for you to first introduce yourself to the people. Then after you introduce yourself, we'll go to Ms. Gail. Okay. So everybody know who is bringing this very informative information to them.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, rather, on this first Sunday of May, which is marvelous. Everything that's going on right now, I guess it's just a blessing. So thank you first, Mr. Bert Robertson of Mississippi Vibes for giving us this opportunity to share this information. I am Sherry, and my middle name is really D-Nice BOUGARD, known as the founder of Be True. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. Not only that, I'm a social worker, I'm a mother, and I'm a life coach. My goal is about helping people become a better them or better you or whatever. At this point, as the CEO, I always tell people never allow anyone to remove their crown, because I think everyone are kings and queens. That's how we were born. Sometimes we just kind of lose our status a little bit. So with that being said, I am the Queen Bee of Be True. And I bring to you my support and my cousin, Gail Bruce.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. Hi, Bert. I'm Gail, one of the board members. I'm the treasurer. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank y'all for allowing me to take up some of y'all busy times. We in this pandemic right now. You've been doing remarkable things with Be True. Even before the pandemic, you've been helping men and women that's dealing with domestic violence. So what made you, besides, you just told everyone you was a victim of domestic violence. When did you want to put your story out there and become a help?
2013, October the 31st, 2013 to be exact. If anybody knows, I tell the same story over and over because a victim's story never changes. However, what ended up happening is a close friend who is my first cousin's first cousin, ended up, it's a small world often.
Right.
But not only that person being a friend and almost a family member, she lost her life to a ex, and I put emphasis on ex-boyfriend. I remember getting a phone call October the 31st, 2013. And if anybody knows me, I wear many hats. I work multiple jobs. I love what I do. It's my passion. But with that being said, one of my jobs allowed me to be a on-call mobile crisis assessor. So I make the decision as to if a person who say they want to hurt themselves or someone else, if I'm going to commit them for long-term treatment or allow them to go back home. That evening, October the 31st, 2013, I received a phone call around midnight thinking I was on call. However, I was being told that my friend was murdered by her ex. I couldn't sleep after that, and just waking up and pondering and thinking what my cousin said to me was, you got to talk. And I was like, why I got to talk? But her thing was, even when I was being abused, one of the odd things about me is I shared my story. I didn't tell everyone in my family, but I needed an outlet. And so I found myself talking to this particular cousin who called me, and she said, I think had she had shared her story with someone, we probably could have saved her. So that's how this all started, by a friend death first, and a phone call that forced me to start my organization, Be True.
So how important is reaching out to a family member, a friend, or an officer of the law, someone to be able to come in and help a victim, so we won't continue to have victims that it goes to, domestic violence is terrible anyway. But I'm saying going to the level that someone is losing their life. When should a person reach out? Who should they reach out to? What's the path they should take?
For me, and I think for many, the path is first identifying who you can trust. As we all know, the first thing typically you go to someone and say, I'm being abused, and they say, oh, you need to leave, or you're crazy for staying there. So they're being critical. Nobody wants to hear that. It's called judgment. And I think on the outside looking in, it's very easy to do that. But as a victim, that's not what you want to hear. So mentally, you have to get yourself together to go, I guess, like, who can I really go to? Who is that person that I know I can trust? I shared some things with before, and they didn't judge me. So the best answer would be identifying that person that you truly can trust. And when you go to them, I know for me, what I did was, it was hard for my family to believe. I take it back a step, because I am a social worker. And one of the craziest things many people think is, at one of the times that I was in a bad relationship, I was actually working in a shelter serving victims, but nobody even knew I was a victim myself. But with that being said, my cousin who is here today, some of my other family members who are not here, they're absent at this moment, but probably watching. Those were the people that I talked to, and I called and said, hey, this is a bad relationship, but I'm not ready to leave. I just need you to listen. And that's one of the things that we talk about when we do our workshops publicly. It's just going to someone and saying, hey, I'm about to say something that you probably don't like. Just listen to me. Okay. One of the things as a social worker is always talking about active listening. You miss out when you kind of like quick to jump in and try to respond. So for me, I use my family, and even at some point I went to my mom and shared with her what was going on, because we have that type of relationship.
Okay, so Miss Gail, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, the call come from Miss BOUGARD. What goes through your mind as hearing a close family member, your cousin, somebody you love, makes that call and she gives you that information?
Devastated, sad, frustrated. All you could think of went through my mind. Like, But my first thing was I couldn't judge her because, like she just said, you got to be ready to, get out of that situation on your own. So I had to sit there and listen. I had to wait till she was ready. Be the short answer for that.
Wow. Okay. Whew. So, Ms. BOUGARD, what are the steps that actually lead up into the physical aspect of domestic violence? If you can let the people know what they need to be aware of before the actually hitting starts.
And as we all know, or at least I hope we know, and part of Be True, or our mission is to educate, elevate, and empower. So we hope in this segment you are being educated, because it's not always just physical. You have emotional, you have financial, so those components. But to answer your question, Mr. Robinson, what I've seen in a million cases that I faced, including myself, is it normally starts with the verbal. I always say it starts off with that guy telling you to sit down, shut up, be quiet. And it kind of looks simple in the beginning. And so you don't say anything. You be like, oh, baby, you go sit down, you shut up, and things of that nature. Then it gets a little bit more aggressive. It goes probably from sit down, shut up, be quiet to, oh, you make me sick, you bitch, or you ain't number the WHORE. And so at that point, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this has kind of gone left a little bit. And I always share the story. I smile about it because I can smile now, but I remember, and I if you watch my story again, I've been in 3 bad relationships, and thank God I've come out of them. But the last one was the guy called me a bitch, and I remember just breaking down crying like a baby, because this guy has never called me out of my name before, so that hurt. And it just started from there. After that, it was like a snowball effect. I started seeing he was angry all the time. He was agitated all the time, and anything that I did was not right. And then it went into the physical piece. I can't say it's a timeline. I'm not saying, hey, he calls you out of your name tomorrow, or scream or yell at you yesterday, and then the next day you're being hit. You just have to be aware of the signs. And one thing I have to admit, and that's what Be True is all about. We say if you can't be true to yourself, you cannot be true to anyone. But signs are often there on the wall. We as humans just ignore them. So, but that is, to me, what I've seen in my own personal experience. It starts with the verbal, then it escalates. For some, because that's the only person that they rely on. And remember, men are victims as well. So one thing about Be True, we don't just focus on women, we focus on men being victims also. But once that person has taken your mental capacity from you, and just bringing you down and making you depressed and not want to be around your family and friends anymore, that's a winner. Because if he or she can take you away from your loved ones or your surroundings, then you have no one to go to. So an abuser often know the rules of this game that they play. And at that point, it becomes a financial component. You're relying on that individual to give you money, to pay the bills, so that you can get the things that you want or that you need. So you may be restricted or limited. And then you're moving on to the emotional. You're, like I said, you're depressed. You're not yourself anymore. You used to get your hair done every 2 weeks and your nails done every week. You're not doing it anymore. You're not who you used to be. And then the physical part comes. And sometimes physical, it starts off with just a push on the forehead or a smack in the face, a lot of choking a lot of times. Some people go to the extreme of burning people, cutting. A lot of times it's in those places where we don't see, like on the thighs or on the butt. It's almost like child abuse almost. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So with y'all research that y'all have done over the years, is it a generational thing for the victim and the person who is giving the abuse, who's delivering the abuse, or do they pick it up along the way, or they didn't see their parents do it, or what's your research have told you?
Research do show this can be generational, but a lot of it is and part of the generational is learned behavior, which one of the things I have to say, we have a curriculum called Unlearn Learn Behavior. I can say this, my family has given me permission to say this, but abuse really started with me before my 3 bad relationships. I witnessed my father abuse my mom. My father witnessed his father abuse his mom. So as you see already, you have that curse, that cycle. Yeah, yeah. And I remember saying to myself, when I was about 5 or 6, I remember my mom just crying one night, and I called the police and got in trouble. Because I come from, my parents are older, so I come from that generation which what goes on this house stays in this house. So now it's a mental thing because I'm holding all this baggage. You got a little kid that's watching 2 people she loved. Because even with that being said, my father treated me like a princess despite what he did to my mother. And my mother told me that I was a child, so she didn't tell me to go against my father. So I'm this little kid that's kind of like split 2 ways. But this can be generational, Bert, and a lot of it is learned behavior. You now have families where, just like myself, single parents, so you have a young lady who's bringing in another man into the relationship. There's already kids there. He's abusive. So now you see the kids are watching it. They see what's going on. And a lot of times we say, oh, the kids don't know what's going on. Yes, they do. They can hear, they can see, and they most definitely know when something is going on with their mom. Kids know their parents.
So, Miss Gail, if you can speak on this for a minute, how is it? I know from a lot of guys, we hide. We don't think it's macho. We don't think it's manly to discuss or reveal that we are being physical or verbal abused. So, Miss Gail, in dealing with be true and all the research and everything that you have done along with your cousin, is it different cases with the males and the women, or what's your view? What's your intake on that?
I'm gonna let Sherry take that one.
Okay.
I'm kind of shy.
We actually have males that are members of Be True, and we also have had males that came into our organization and spoke before about being abused. And just as you said, it's a lot of verbal abuse a lot of times and really physical. We have to break it down and remind men it's not cool for her to be all up in your face and this and this and that and out in public. And that's emotional right there. It's physical. We learn as kindergarten or pre-K, you keep your hand and your feet to yourself. So, it doesn't matter. And even back then, they used to take sometimes both to jail when they couldn't figure it out. And now they're most definitely doing it. I do know that. I give props to our MPD, Memphis Police Department, our Director Rollins, who is really hearing what we have to say as advocates of domestic violence. But with the men, it's both. It's mental and physical. Like you said, the ego thing. But I think with us and other organizations like Walking in Faith and things of that nature, the more we get out there and speak and help people recognize that this is real, it's a silent killer, people are stepping up. I just applaud the men that come out to our workshops and our events. And when we start talking, they just stand up and say, you know what, lady, or Miss BOUGARD or Sherry, to Be True, thank you. This is a release outlet for me. And again, that becomes a mental factor for men, and they're holding it in. But it's not fair. It's not right. And not even that, we see it in the LBGT community. So you have same-sex partners, you have men that are in a relationship with men, women in a relationship with women, and they're all doing it. But for men, it's really hard for you all to talk, Bert. I don't know why. I do know why. It's the past, and that's the thing. We got to step away from the things we used to do. As we see just in the last 3 months, the world has changed quickly. So people really do need to start talking and opening up, and especially you men. You know, if you're being victimized, say something. That's the only way you're going to get the help that you need.
Well, you do mostly hear they affect emotionally.
Most definitely.
Right. I know, ladies, I know for me, when I first got in a situation like that, it was a shocker. You know, because I didn't come from none of that lifestyle, you know, growing up. I was never involved personally with a woman like that. And then when I got into this situation, it was a battle of care, love for her, the kids. Or I can really, you know, I can handle this. You know, you try to trick your mind to believe something that's not even real, that now any little argument has turned into a name calling, has turned into, you know, you make it, it's something about some women, they know how to put that knife right to that point of their skin and turn it that it breaks it. And it keeps like, the wound never heals, because every argument, when you in a dysfunctional relationship, the arguments come so frequently, you know, it's like, man, this is a every other day, sometimes an everyday thing. But I never, so then I go back, I done messed around and turned myself into, now I gotta use the same bashing words to try to defend myself, because it's like, you ain't gonna stop unless I get with you on that level. And so, you know, I believe, man, I think me and you talked about it when we initially met, but I have never openly spoke about it like this. You know what I'm saying? My family or people never knew about it, because, you know, like I said, you know, the ego, you don't want to feel weak.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel that you're nowhere, you like your leadership has been taken away, because, you know, you are allowing, you know, your mate, this woman, to degrade you in this manner. So it was a crazy thing for me. And, you know, just to be honest, I got into that that way of us communicating when, you know, we was too immature to sit down. I hear you talk, you hear me talk, we come to a resolution. So, you know, I understand what the guys, you know, I understand.
Most definitely. And so now you see the effects of Be True. As I told you, when we go out and speak, we have guys like you that step up and give those true testimonies. And it actually helped the women in the audience. And a lot of times it's things people know. It's just we have a way of bringing it or making people go, aha, I forgot. You know, yeah, that is it. That is happening. And just what you said, everything that both of us are saying, this is what people are going through right now with COVID-19. You know, you think it's just a crisis of people dying from this pandemic, but we refer to domestic violence, also known as intimate partner violence, as a silent killer. And the reason it is because we're not saying anything. Victims sit there and not say anything. So with the world changing now, people are working from home. So now you have the victim and the abuser and the children all at home together. I'm just going to use the example of the man being the abuser right now and the female being the victim. You know, he's at home, he's pissed off because he can't go out and do what he normally do. He's sitting looking at her. He's agitated. She's walking on eggshells. She's trying to comfort the kids. She's trying to comfort him to make sure he doesn't pop off in a sense and start going off and with the verbal, and the kids are hearing this and this, that, and the third. It's scary. And then if you got people being turned away at the hospital for symptoms that's related to COVID, what makes you think they're going to really see a victim at the moment who been choked or have a bruise or a broken bone, a broken arm, or a black eye, and she needs medical attention? So this is not a good thing for victims right now. It's very scary. It's going to be hard to come out. Just on a normal day, a victim, there are millions of dollars spent across the United States trying to care for a woman who finally decides to go into the hospital for medical attention. And then the other side is when she's had enough, she snaps and then she kills the abuser. And I'm using in this, like I said, this situation, the female as the victim, but she killed the abuser and now she's going to jail and her kids. So not only does the victim suffer in this birth, the entire circle, that entire family, friends, co-workers, everyone suffers in this, and the outcome isn't often good at all.
If you in a toxic relationship, that was basic domestic violence relationship is very toxic environment. Just say, we just in love. I mean, what are the steps from, okay, we have to stop this verbal or physical abuse towards each other to moving on, that we can reconcile, we can make this a feasible, productive, thriving relationship, marriage, whatever the situation is. From your time of your years of dealing with this, what do you suggest? Or I apologize, or do you suggest we just need to call this all together?
So now I got to put on my social work cape.
Yeah, you said in the beginning you wear 100 hats. I'm gonna put y'all up.
That I do have passion for what I do. I always have to say, what's love got to do with it? I'm pretty sure most of us have seen the Ike and Tina Turner story, but love plays a vital part. Love is that's who we are. We have emotions that a lot of times we cannot control. Some of us can turn them off and on like a light switch, but the majority of us, we're not that fortunate. And so that's what keeps us there. So there is two sides, two answers, maybe 5 or 6. So you're thinking he's going to get better or she's going to get better. Him or her just had a bad day at work. There's a lot of factors that's going on in our life right now. We're short on cash, we're struggling, just a lot of hardships, barriers. So we're going to pray, or I'm going to pray for us, for our relationship to get better. So you hold on, you hold on, you hold on. But while you're holding on, you're just breaking. Because to me, it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to make it work. So if one person is doing all the praying and doing all the work and they try to keep this relationship together, it's not going to happen. Both individuals have to come in wanting to change their behaviors, wanting to make a change, make progress in their relationship. So if you're holding on to love shouldn't hurt. Love shouldn't look like somebody calling you out of your name or hitting on you or whatever. So the other part you said was calling the quits. It's not always that easy, Bert. You have a lot of times an abuser, and not even a lot of times, 100% of the time, the abuser is someone who wants control at all times. And it's hard to think, if I leave this relationship, how quick am I going to be able to go into another relationship and control that person? So why don't I just stay where I am in my comfort zone, because I know what I can do here. So that's where you kind of start seeing lines crossing, where individuals cheating or having other relationships going on. But going into that social worker piece, I strongly recommend counseling. I hate to say it as an African American and Black woman, but a lot of us don't like it. Hey, I go to my counselor every other week. Sometimes get mad when she cannot see me. Even with COVID-19 going on, we're doing telehealth. That's the big thing now, for those who are fortunate to do that. And if you have insurance, which is the law, we all should have it, you should be able to get mental health.
Right.
Nothing, or either get it for free. If you really need it, if you're working, you have access to EAP. Talking is the key to this. If you cannot talk to that person you love or you're in a relationship with, talk to someone, because it can become very dangerous. And that's where trauma plays a big part, because you holding in all of this baggage, all of this pain, this hurt, etc. So counseling, it really works.
So let's get into this good thing. Y'all doing wonderful in Memphis. Mm-hmm. We're gonna let the world know what y'all do. Once again, how you been doing it, how you been helping females and male victims, what you do for them, just giving the rundown, the whole nine.
Oh, we are a community outreach program that serves not only Memphis, Tennessee, but borders of Memphis, which is Arkansas. We've done workshops in other parts of Tennessee as well as Mississippi. For us, we have three major components, which is our outreach program, where we do an Easter egg hunt. Every Easter, we partner with a community center or some type of church or any venue that wants to work with us to make sure we bring families together, doing old school games and just having fun. What we do is talk to the kids or the family as a whole. Instead of using the word domestic violence, we use the word bullying because that is kind of coinciding with domestic violence. And we try to reach everyone on their level. Everyone doesn't learn the same way. You have some people that learn by visual, some people learn by hearing. So you have to reach people where they are. Sometimes you have to go all the way down to a third grade level if that's the way to disseminate the information. Our other component is around Christmas time, we do caroling, karaoke caroling with the less fortunate. We don't say homeless. And the reason for that is because when I was a victim, I moved 6 times in 1 year. It's very, very hard, very, very chaotic. And sometimes those individuals that are less fortunate, that's out there on the streets, you don't know. They may have been an abuser and lost everything, or they may be a victim. And not only do we don't put abusers down, because some of them really do have mental health issues and cannot control that. And then our third piece is kind of 2 in 1. We now educate in the correctional facility here in Memphis, where we have an opportunity to meet with women once a month and educate them. But with COVID going on, as we know, everything is kind of like on a pause right now. But our coinciding piece to that is our transitional home, which we are in right now. You cannot tell because we have the banner in the backdrop. This is our world famous banner we take when we go out into the community. But
we call it home the beehive.
Yeah, the beehive, yes. And that's we're in one of our beehives right now. So like I said, I'm the queen bee. You know, that's the queen has to take care of her colony. And that's what this is all about, security. If you run up on a bee, what do? So there you go. That's the analogy to this. It's all about protecting our kings and queens. We want to stop this. But just talking about our biggest project here, we've had our 3rd house. And with people in our community, donors, the home we're in right now was furnished by donors and donations, financial donations, but the homes are personally bought out of my pocket. And so I purchased 3 homes to this day, and the goal is to purchase one every 2 years to make sure we bring people in and teach them life skills using our curriculum, unlearn, learn behavior, and move them back out, transition them back out into the community as queens, princesses, who we were designed and born to be.
Yeah, you glossed over that too fast for me. Let the community know that you got a transitional home where you are helping victims get together and learn. That's a big thing. It's not a lot of people that's willing to sacrifice their funds to actually help victims that deep. That's remarkable. So we got to give a big ups to Miss BOUGARD for doing that. Oh yeah, that's a big up thing there. So how did you and your cousin Miss Bruce, how did you go? How you knew she was gonna be your go-to lady?
Like I said earlier, I can tell her, you have people in your life that you tell various of things to. GAIL is real quiet, So I know I can trust her. I've never said anything and it came back to me. Not to mention, we're just a unique family. We come from a family despite issues, whether they're big or small. A family wouldn't be a family if they didn't have something. We still stick together. And Gail, mother, who is now deceased, and my mom were first cousins, and they grew up together, and we all kind of grew up in the same neighborhood. And we would go, this is the time when you would go to people's homes and visit on Saturdays and Sundays and Friday nights, and kind of having dinner. And so my mom and I would visit over to Gail's house and a variety of my other cousins. And they would, the grown people sat in the living room or the living headquarters and talk, and they say, hey, all the kids got to go to the back. And that's what we did. And so we would go to the back and play and chit chat and talk. And of course, over time, you kind of separate a little bit because everybody went their own way. You grow up, and I went off to college, and Gail remained back here in the city, but we were having kids, like our kids are like the same age. And then Gail is a grandmother.
She's one too.
I don't use that word. So Gail said it, I didn't say it. But
denial.
Yeah, I'm in denial because I think I'm 21 too. But that's another story. With that being said, it's just odd how not odd, but our family was a close-knit family, and it just goes back to that's the way we were raised. And so knowing I could trust her. Gail and I have girls that are the same age, and then our boys are the same age. And oddly, our grandsons, they're the same age. Our grandsons were born on the same day. Mine was first, and his name, it's funny because my grandson name is Ace, and her grandson name is Deuce. And that's how they was born, Ace and Deuce, so first and second. But just knowing it. And I have other cousins, I reference to Lisa. There are certain things that I can say to her. And then I have friends, there are certain things. But with Gail, I think one of our close and my cousin Paula, I have to give a shout out to her. One of those attachments is we have kids, and there would be days where I was going through bad moments. And my kids, Gail house, there's only 3 houses they can go to, and one is Gail's. And she was just there, the thing, when you know your family, or when you know someone, something is not right. And it was like, do you just need a break right now? And I'm like, please, just take them, let them stay there 2 hours, 24 hours, 72 hours. And it was never any questions about it. There's things like she said earlier, it's frustrating. I would call and say, just listen, don't respond. And I know in the back of her head, she probably want to say, leave, or why are you still there? But she didn't. She did just what I asked her to. And that was, listen, I said what I had to say, 3-5 minutes, and I hung up the telephone because I just needed to get that out. So you got to know who you can trust, because everyone is not trustworthy. Again, sometimes you may have to test the waters too, and the person you think you can trust just may not respond the way you want them to. And I always tell victims that it's a flip side to that. When somebody care about you, of course they're going to get angry. They're going to be frustrated. So as a survivor now, but a victim then, I had to kind of retrain my thought process too, and say, I'm calling somebody and asking them not to feel sorry. And I'm telling them I'm being kicked in my stomach and I'm 8 months pregnant, or I'm being choked and I can't breathe, or I've just got drugged down a sidewalk. How unfair is it for me to call someone and say that and don't expect them to say anything back, or not to have emotions or feelings about it, knowing that they care about me?
Either one of you ladies can answer. Does it come a point in time you done call so many times that they don't want to hear it anymore? And if it does happen, as a victim, how are you dealing with that nobody's hearing you anymore?
Yeah, you want to say anything?
Well, I don't know about the other cousins, but I never done that. I never been that type of person. I always try to hang in there. which was hard at first, but I did it. You can feed off that if you.
So you want to know how? Can you repeat it again, Bert?
After you the victim, you done called your family members, your friends, whomever, countless of times, numerous of times about your abuser. They done heard it so much, they not picking up their phone anymore. As a victim, what's your next move, or does that just compound on what's already going on? What's the emotional feeling that you're going through that the person you think that you can call or the people, they no longer hearing your story anymore?
It's a hard pill. That is a real hard pill to swallow, and it happens quite often. But again, what I just said a few seconds ago, victims have to be fair too. You know, I know or when I was, but you want someone to hear what you have to say. However, on the flip side, for someone that's never been a victim, it's hard for them to try to digest this. You know, like, really, she don't want me to call the cops. She don't want me to come pick up and take her to the police station. So when people don't answer anymore, for me, I had to bow down and pray. You know, I have to be politically correct in this world. Not here to offend anyone, but I do believe in God. And pray and pray and pray and pray and cry and scream and punch holes in paper and do everything to not retaliate against my abusers. And like I said, I had three. I had one that put a gun to my head. I had one that raped me. And I had one that just did everything, you know, financially, emotionally, physically. And I have to throw this caveat in of your status in life has nothing to do with it. Remember, I'm a social worker and I was being abused as a social worker, and I was working in the shelter serving victims. So we have doctors, police officers, teachers, politicians that are abusers as well as victims. But with that being said, it's hard when no one answers anymore. And for me, that was one of the things that kind of made me start saying, how long do I want to stay here? You know, I remember going back, I stopped talking to my friends and everything because I was so emotionally and physically drained that I didn't want to be bothered with anyone. And I know people got tired of hearing me say the same thing over. Oh, I love him, I can't leave him. He gonna do better. He was just tired. He's working. I'm in college and I'm draining him, and I want this and I want that, and I'm pregnant and my emotions, you know. So I made all excuses for him, not looking out for myself, but I'm talking to people who love me. And that was one of the things, but not the biggest thing that made me leave. When I decided to leave, it was because one of my kids saw me being choked one night, and I had an outer body moment where my kid, I saw my kid as me as that 5-year-old who witnessed her mom being abused. And at that point, I said, it's time to go. But Bert, not having a support system is hard. Not having an outlet is hard. So I go back to counseling. If you don't have anyone to talk to, this is the prime time to start utilizing a counselor or some type of professional.
Can you be a victim and an abuser?
Oh, most definitely you can. This has a lot of what you saw, what you learned over time, as well as some mental health components are in there. The piece, a lot of people are probably looking at this and saying, no, you can't, but yes, you can. You can eventually turn into an abuser. I have seen people that safely gotten out of relationships, and if you know, statistics shows it takes about 7 times before you can truly walk away. And a lot of times the 7th time the victim is killed. But for those who are successfully out of these relationships, they have harbored so much of that in, they end up becoming the abuser, whether it's to their kids in their home or the dog or the cat in their home, because of all that anger and hate and all that baggage and all that trauma. As we know, trauma it's real. And I guess when we start really accepting some of these terms that are floating out here in the universe, we'll understand that we really do need help, and it's okay to ask for it. It's okay to receive it. But trauma is something that can prevent you from moving forward, and it can make you angry. And one of my favorite things, I remember my cousin and I was on Christy Taylor show here in Memphis, Tennessee, and we continue to say, hurt people will hurt people. So for those who want to debate me on that answer, yeah, you can become the abuser.
I know you ready to debate.
I'm not a debater.
But I just realized, and I have to, it's something else I have to admit. I guess I have, you know what I'm saying, not guess. I was a abuser also, because I got caught up into the, you know, the verbal assaults.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the also getting up into a person, the lady's face, and you know, so I mean, just you talking, I realized, you know, I used to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't, you know what I'm saying, because I'm looking at it as, you know, I'm just defending myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you know, you done took all this noise, this verbiage for so long, so now, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I do believe in somebody has to be the bigger person. I see quotes all day on social media saying, I'm tired of being the bigger person. But somebody has to be the bigger person, or you're going to keep that. It's just going to be like this roller coaster cycle. It's like, who wants to ride on a roller coaster 24 hours, 7 days a week? It's fun for a minute, but not forever. So if no one decides to say, hey, let's talk, let's try to work this out, even if the other person is yelling or yapping, I know it's often hard to do, but take a breath, stop, walk away, let that person know, talk that person through it. I'm getting ready to walk away. I see we're not getting here, we're not getting anywhere in this conversation right now. And as we know, one thing my kids taught me is that nobody hears you when you're yelling.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
sure.
tell people, it's just you have to be silent to listen. In order to listen, you have to be silent. And I always tell people to write those 2 words on a piece of paper. It's the same exact letters. So, and I have to practice what I preach. I'm not saying I'm perfect because I'm out here trying to give a message, but I really do have to practice what I preach. At the end of the day, I'm still human, and I have to catch myself on some things sometimes as well. Working through this, coming out of 3 bad relationships and watching my mom be abused half my life. That's not just something you kind of push away overnight.
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, with us talking about this whole pandemic, I hope this message get out there to someone, not just victims, not just abusers, but supporters, those people who refer to themselves as, I want to be that person's support system. Learn how to listen. LISTEN. In order to listen, all you have to do is be SILENT. It's not that hard. Just being a bigger person. That's part of me giving you some life coaching. But I always have to throw in jokes there too. And that's another thing.
Yeah.
Bring humor, bring it back, have fun. During this COVID thing, we should really be coming together as kings, as queens, and making our empires grow. I use a lot of metaphors because it's lost. Those things we used to do that make us happy, jump roping and playing jacks and talking on the phone and having real live conversations. Those things are lost. And that's why I find sometimes our world is a little lost, because those things that brought us together back in the day, we don't implement those into our life anymore. So we've kind of become complacent and comfortable with a lot of things and just accepting stuff. There are so many, I see young ladies that accept these guys calling them out of their name. No. Stop that right then and there. If you can stop that, that's a component of you respecting who you are. And if you let him know or let her know up front, we're not going to play this game, we're not going to do this, you nip that in the bud. But if you don't nip it in the bud in the beginning, you're kind of leaving that door wide open for this to continue. And again, like we said earlier, we have a bigger thing now.
All right. Just with us talking, it's bringing back a lot of memories and a lot of moments for me. And when you was saying, somebody has to be silent, somebody has to walk away, somebody has to be the bigger person. Now, what I used to do, I don't advise this to anyone. I used to, until some time ago, a year ago or so, about more than a year, I used to be what word would you use? A serial cheater. So I would use any verbal outlash from her, I would go and be with somebody else, which only compounded what was already going on in our home. So it's nothing that I was doing to ever help in the situation, because I was a weak man, and I couldn't handle the notion of you got the gall to speak to me this way. So I look as as we'll say in layman's terms, as a get back or whatever. I just go and find someone else to have a little fun with, as I would say. But that's only, we're not even hitting the surface of making this relationship or anything better. And so I had to get back to loving myself, respecting myself, to even do that. Even now, with this individual, we have hard times of communicating when it just comes to our child. And so it's any little simple word could spark off anything.
Definitely.
And it's not, so like I say, y'all helping me more than y'all know. So it's just a way I have to learn how to listen and how to communicate on a different level, so I won't continue to be or fall back into being the abuser, the verbal abuser.
And something you said, Bert, kids, when we're acting out because two adults and no one decides to say, let's take a pause and somebody be the bigger person, they're watching. And then when they start doing these things, we're like, we don't know where they got that behavior from. Oh, yes, you do. It goes back to, there are always signs there. Now, whether we decide to admit we see the writing on the wall, that's a whole nother story. But we're teaching our kids that this behavior is appropriate. It's okay. And it's not. It's, again, I say a million times, we're taught earlier on to keep our hand and our feet to ourselves. So we need to model that throughout life forever. And I get it. Again, we're humans. We have emotions. We have feelings. We get angry. We scream. We shout. We yell. We do things we're not supposed to do. We say things we shouldn't say. But words hurt. I don't care what people say. I learned a long time ago that cliche, sticks and stone may break my bones, but words don't hurt. That's bull.
One of the biggest lies in the world.
I just told you earlier, I was called a BITCH. I cried a baby for like 72 hours. So that's a bunch of baloney. Right. I yell at my kids. I'm guilty. But they be like, Mama, just whoop me. They let you know right there. Words are very powerful. And once you put it out there, you can't take it back. You can, baby, honey, sweetie, I'm sorry. Here go a dozen of roses. Here's $1 million. Here's 5 houses for Be True Beehive. I'll take it. But I'm not saying that it's going to make me feel better, because and now you're trying to make up for it. So you know what you did was wrong, and you're getting to that. But our kids, they watching us, and that's one of the things we want to help people understand. Let's stop this. Let's stop this generational curse. Let's stop this cycle, whatever you want to refer to it as. This is a prime time where we should be teaching our kids about healthy relationships, what it is to really love someone. There are some healthy people out here. Gail and her husband been in a relationship, what,
20 years.
20 years, you know.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Yeah, yeah.
99. But this is joking, but this is a prime example of, you know, there are ways to be healthy, and, you know, having kids, very smart kids, and just doing good things and things of that nature, because they see their mom and dad, you know, being healthy and wholesome to them. So, hey, we got to come together and we got to figure out how to first be true to ourselves, because everything starts with you. When you can admit that you have a problem, when you can admit that you're hurting, when you can admit that you hurt 3 or 4 people, it's not other people anymore, it's you. And you need to stop and really think about, what can I do to become a better person? Let me be
Say that again now. Once you done hurt numerous people, it's not the people, it's who?
You.
You know, one thing I used to try to do, I used to try to have the conversation, you know, in our room. You know, the kids in the house somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I used to try to, you know, keep the conversation in the room. But it seems like with this particular individual, it always ended up with the door opening and going through the house with the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I never understood, you know, then I never understood why. But then it came to a point in time I was like, now we was just talking. You started the verbal abuse. You opening the door and running out, is that now you don't switch to the victim role?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I ain't able to keep up with all this. You moving too fast a little for me now. You know, you go from we having a conversation to you done started the name calling.
Mm-hmm.
Or the yelling or whatever. I'm like, you know, hope we ain't gotta go there. Door opens, now it's done switch way back to now you the victim. That used to blow my mind. I was, what? I ain't understand the switcheroo like that. So, I mean, I wasn't, you know, and like I say, I'm not pointing fingers,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, like you said, it takes 2 to tangle.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I fell into it, and I did actions that wasn't anything that was going to help us come to a resolution. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I don't know. I know I'm enjoying this conversation. Once again, I thank y'all for y'all time. And so with the pandemic that's going on, how has the numbers of abuse went up, child abuse, and, you know, with adults?
Well, you can't, the numbers aren't out there yet, because like I said earlier, we know it's happening, but the hospitals right now, they're only seeing people who have severe cases of corona or COVID. So, and a victim just can't leave and go to the hospital. That's a no-no, you know, that's taking away power from the abuser. So right now the numbers aren't there, or they're not showing, because everything is being dominated. But just know, on a normal day, which I don't even know if we can say normal anymore, but on a normal day, the numbers are sky high. So from
what's
just
sky high? What's a number? I didn't mean to cut you off. What's sky high?
So you have 1 in every 7 women that are victims. So you put 100 people in a room, you go around, you're gonna count, and that's how you come up with your number. I'm not a mathematician, you have to figure that part out. And then statistics shows 1 in sometimes 5, and then sometimes 1 in 6 men in a room.
1 in 6 men and 1 in 7 for the women.
Mm-hmm. And so, like I was saying, because we don't have accurate numbers right now, because of what's taking precedence with going to the hospital, the phone calls. But kids probably are calling police officers, but we as victims, we are trained to hush. So if a police officer come out kind of what you said, the switcheroo changes, and it's like, why, you know, I don't know why my child called the police out here. There's nothing going on. We're okay. One of the things Memphis MPD, Memphis Police Department is doing is they're training police officers to ask like several questions. It's like 5 quick questions. And if 3 of the 5 are answered, that kind of prompts them to say, hey, let's try to make a way to get into this house, or they'll leave a card with the victim to say, I understand you may not be able to leave right now, but take this card. You can call us later. So again, big shouts out to Director Rawlins for recognizing that this is not just something somebody can walk up in the house and say, lady, come out. You know, you can do that for a senior or a child that's being abused, but you can't do that with a victim of domestic violence. They have to leave when they're ready. There's no law to say that someone has to take that person out of that unsafe environment.
No law for that. It's
no law.
Nothing. Wow. Wow.
They take them out when they're dead. It's sad to say when they're putting them in a body bag. And then that's when it's all over the news and everybody like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But here we are, like us and other organizations that are out advocating and educating people. But it's one of those things, it's kind of like COVID right now. It doesn't mean anything until it happens to me. I'm not going to wear a mask until I get sick or until my grandmother dies. You know, that's the same thing with domestic violence. It doesn't mean anything to me until somebody called me at midnight and say that my friend was just killed, or my cousin was killed, or my mama was killed, or my daddy was killed because their partner decided to throw grits on them, hot grits, or a hot pot of grease, or shoot them in the head while they were asleep. It doesn't become a problem until it happens to you. Now that's deep and it's bad.
Without mentioning any names, what case or what situation that you done did with your transitional home, what case just done stuck with you the most from a victim?
Of course, like you said, can I use names? Well, because it's crazy. We all kind of have the same story, but a different outcome. So the case that stood out to me the most was an individual who was like scars all over her neck, like fresh blood, and just having that conversation and looking into her eyes and knowing she wasn't ready. And like I said, this is not easy, not even with me being a survivor or an advocate for this. I'm still human. I still have feelings, and to see that, and I'm like, tell me what you want. And it's just like, I just want him to stop. Well, I can't make that happen. I don't have a magic wand. We do have a bumblebee who has a wand, but it's really not that magical. So just knowing, going back into that situation again, and actually I haven't seen or heard from that person anymore. I wasn't being judgmental. It's, you know, hopefully I see or hear something in the future, but knowing that that person was going back into that situation, which is a lot of the cases, seeing that. Now with the transitional home piece, the ones who do come into our program, it's kind of like there's this big lengthy contract that they have to do because they do have to follow curriculum when they come into the program. They have to keep up with how they read to their kids at nighttime, going over homework, cooking healthy meals, because they're unlearning learned behavior. They're learning how to become self-sufficient, how to depend on their self, because that's what becomes a problem as a victim. We depend on the abuser for everything. But there's a plethora, an array of things that they have to do in this program, and just becoming a healthier person will make you be able to be self-sufficient and do the things that you need to do, and be able to go to somebody and or see those signs on the wall and be like, you know what, this guy, look, he yelled at me already, you know, I'm just gonna stop this right here. I don't have to say, baby, I'm leaving, I'm just gonna pack my stuff up and go. He gonna come home and see that I'm gone. it's not to say I'm a firm believer that nobody should be alone, but I'm also a firm believer that we should not be living in a relation or be in a relationship and we have migraines and headaches out the wazoo and back pains and all this other stuff. Is every relationship going to be perfect? I don't think so. But I think in a relationship, communication is very important. And again, just two people trying to make things as good could be. I can't define it for a relationship, but let's cut out the cursing each other and screaming and yelling when it's not a necessity. Let's not be putting our hands on each other. That's not necessary. So.
So going back to when you first stated, I know it comes from your experience. When you say you looked into her eyes and you knew she wasn't ready, I mean, what did you see or what you didn't see that you were supposed to see to know that she was ready?
Bert, you put me on the spot with that one. It's just one of those things. It's intuition. You say you have a child, you kind of know when you know that saying, I have eyes, and I tell my kids sometimes I have eyes in the back of my head because I really know what they're doing because I know them, and even without not personally knowing some of the people that I run into, they're a reflection of who I used to be. And so I guess it's kind of like that counter transference. You know, I'm looking at this person and I see me a few years ago, and I'm like, this is not it. But I make sure I try to keep my right face because sometimes your facial expression can say the opposite. You could be like, no, in the nicest way, but your face be like, hell no, you know? So I have to keep everything together. You know, my thing is, sister, I'm here for you. If you need me, you know my phone number, you know how to reach me. I do set boundaries with everything, you know. Don't call me at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning unless you really need to. Because again, it's going back to I'm in that education mode and I'm trying to teach people to not just depend on someone, but again, I'm repeating what I say because repetition is important, becoming self-sufficient. So just looking in the eyes, there was no I'm looking in her eyes, but she kind of like all over the place. Like, look, chick, I just came, I wanted to vent for the moment and keep it going. You see what's going on with me. I got blood here, you know, and I was like, do you want some medical attention? No. So it's nothing I can do about that. Again, there's no law that's saying I have to call the police or I have to take her to the hospital. She's not a senior. She wasn't a senior citizen and she wasn't a minor.
You ever seen a case where the victim is really not the victim, but the abuser?
Oh, yes.
So how do you distinguish between the two? I mean, is it a lengthy conversation or, you know, a few keywords in the first two sentences you can catch that, hey, this ain't what it is?
It can be both cases. It can be a lengthy conversation. It could be years before you figure it out. I continue to say it goes with that gutty feeling. You know, have you ever talked to someone who's like, this person just ain't right? You know, and we all have those moments, and that's how it is sometimes. Like, you really are not the victim here. You are the abuser, but maybe that person, again, with abusers, there's that manipulation. So let me go in and try to get everybody on my side first. And at that point, a lot of times when abusers do play the victim role, they kind of know that they're about to be revealed to, if not the world, but to some individuals. So it's like, hey, let me put the victim face on. So now when people come to me or ask me questions, you know, I can be like, no, it's not me, it's her, you know, or no, it's not me, it's him. So now it's making it difficult for those individuals that you're talking to figure out what's going on, and it causes confusion.
I think we done knew each other before. Cause I'm telling you now, you hitting. I'm telling you, I ask the question because, you know, I'm asking a question because I either did it or the receiving one. And that's another thing, what you just said, I could never understand how you get on the phone that quick and start telling stuff that this ain't how it happened. Mm-hmm. And so it brings the boundaries up that, you know, I can't even, man, it's like, wow. Y'all believe that?
I don't want to be the bad person, so let me get people on my side first. You know, that's like kids. What do when they know they're in trouble? They go to the parent that they know gonna take up for them. Mama, I didn't do that. You know, typically they run to mama first. And so when dad gets a hold to him, it's like, boy, you know you did that. And I'm like, right. Oh, and so they got mama on their side, and mama like, well, John, back up off of him, give him another chance. Right. You know how he is. So yeah, it's the same game.
How crucial is it for the so-called victim family to actually start questioning their behavior on what they are telling them? So will that help them stop playing the victim role when they're actually the abuser? How does a family, friends or whatever, play a part into, I mean, what you just called an individual out, or, you know, or how would that go, if you can understand the question, how I'm trying to get it out to you?
I think I understand what you're saying, and it goes back to who is your family, who is your friends. And for me, I use myself as an example. I got the hood cousin, I got the laid back cousin, I got the quiet cousin. So, you know, this one here, she know everything that's going on, and I'm bringing this guy to the family event. She ain't gonna say nothing to him. She may give him a little nasty look, but then I got the hood cousin like, why you hear him? You know, and I'm like, hey, don't do that. What are you doing? You know, and you know, my mom knows what's going on, and my mama gives some looks that'll kill you, you know, but she's not gonna say anything or whatever, because it's like, hey, you know, you in a bad situation. I'm just here for you if you need me. So I can't speak for other people, but a lot of times that is kind of what it is in our group or our circle or our family member. It's depending on who you're sharing the information with. However, I come from a family where I'm the only girl. I have 4 older brothers, and I always share this publicly. My oldest brother and I are 25 years apart. So with that being said, when they did find out about they knew about my first abuser who put a gun to my head. I use this as an example. They were ready to kill this guy. So they all got their guns out, not even just my family, but the people on my street in my neighborhood. They found out this guy put a gun to my head, and they was like, we finna kill this dude, you know? So it can create a big problem because you don't know how everyone is gonna react. But in the end, it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. This silent killer, it affects a lot of people, because if my brothers and the people on my street would have killed this guy, guess what was going to happen to my friends and family? They would go to jail, and the guy would have been dead or severely hurt. And I'm still sitting there. So now I got added stress on me, because guess what? My family going to be mad at me because you the reason for this mess. So this is bigger than what a lot of people think it is. You know, it's not just being pushed or cursed out. It affects the whole family, the whole circle.
Right. And that's the killer part. The effects, the ripple effect that it has on everybody that's involved. You know, when I was accused of being a physical abuser, and it was funny to me how people don't use common sense. You know, like my dad used to say, common sense, that just ain't something everybody carries around. You know, and the reason I'm saying that is I had been out of town. A situation occurred. I had to go back to a certain town and state. And we was handling a situation, and me and her family was just talking. And for whatever reason, it came up for me to say, we was talking about something about, dynamics of relationship, this and that. And I was like, and her sister said to me, how could you say you never been abused? You was hitting my sister. I said, hitting your sister? Now your sister, her skin tone, I'm talking about, is light. So if she bump into something, is a bruise.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, if I hit your sister with her skin tone, when you see a bruise, has she ever sent you any pictures about anything with some bruises on her body that I had done to her? No. I said, so why you don't use your common sense to recognize when a lie is a lie? And, this story is bigger than what you're saying. With me saying that, and go back to what you're saying, it can put a wedge between families who trying to, y'all trying to raise your kids together. You got nieces and cousins that's playing together, and you trying to have a thriving relationship, but they looking at you sideways because a lie has been told. And I think that was one of the biggest things that hurt me in the situation, to actually be accused of abusing someone, and there's no way in the world that could have happened. We talking, we keep it real, we gonna be true now. It had to be back in 2015. I was living in Arlington, Texas. An argument came to, I went downstairs trying to walk away to have a smoke. I think I was smoking cigarettes then, I can't remember. But anyway, next thing I know, coming down the parking lot, is 2 police cars. I'm wondering, I'm like, hey, what fool done did something now? I didn't know I was the fool. I didn't know that I was the fool that was just standing there, that, it was, hey, you such and such. I'm like, yeah, that's what's going on. We need to, talk to you about, we got a call for domestic violence. So I couldn't, I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so as like you were stating earlier, they was getting aggressive with me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hello, partner, don't put your hand on me now. We're not finna go into all that right now. You need to assess the situation. He said, no, you done did this. She called and she said, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I want you to do me a favor. You know the apartment number. I want you to go up there to the apartment number. And when she comes to the door, when you see her skin tone, you tell me if I hit her. So he did. He went upstairs. One of the officers went upstairs. He was like, nah, she's a very light-skinned woman. I don't see no marks, so it was, that's the mental anguish that a person can take on when you're still trying to decipher, do you stay, do you leave? Mm-hmm. Because you never know how bad your life can be on the line of, going to prison or anything, going to jail behind a false allegation. Mm-hmm. So have you experienced that? Anybody who's been falsely accused or a victim lied on the abuser?
It happens all the time. I don't know anyone personally, but just in readings and things of that nature, I've never falsely lied on anyone. I was even able to successfully put an order of protection against one of my victims. So I tell people, just keep a track of what's going on. Sometimes it's vital to get people involved. So if you do go to court, or when you get ready to put an order of protection in place, the questions that they're going to ask is, do you have witnesses? Do you have phone records? Do you have photographs? You know, do you have hospital bills? Things of that nature. And sadly to say, I had all of those. Um, so it is important to keep a record. It's additional work to get that piece of paper. And one thing I tell people, in my opinion, the piece of paper is not going to save your life, but it is something that's implemented. It's something that's in place. And if the worst happened, that could be death. For me, the order of protection can give your family like some peace, some type of sense of security, because it prevents you from, or the family from, having to go to court and trying to prove what was going on. Now they say, oh, there was an order of protection in place. This guy has a history of her, or this woman have a history of harassing their partners. So of course we're going to look into this first. How many cases do you watch on the news or hear about or read in the newspaper where it's a husband and wife, one of them end up dead, and then the first person they point the finger to is the one that's living? 9 times out of 10, it always comes out to be where that person had, you know, the one that's living ended up killing the other individual, and there was some type of abuse going on. A lot of people probably didn't know about it. So you have the family saying, oh, Susie is a nurse, and she was this, and she was that, and she was so pleasant, and she was so nice. And James, her husband, he was wonderful, and he supported her financially, and he did everything for those kids. But behind closed doors, it was hell, which is going back to what's going on right now.
Right. You ever, have you ever, besides in your personal situation, you have a conversation with the abuser?
Abusers aren't too quick to say that they're abusers. They're often going to tell you they're the victim, but the few that have admitted to being abusers kind of gave the information that you given earlier. You know, it took a while for them to really understand that, man, what I was doing was very damaging to my wife or to my partner or whatever. It takes a lot for us to be big people in this small world for whatever reason, ego, pride, whatever. But there are a few that have, you know, have said, hey, I could have been a better person. I shouldn't have did all that cursing, all that yelling. When I raised my hand at, you know, my partner, or I threatened them that I killed them, or, you know, because I was upset or angry. But it's a very, not even a handful that will admit that they are abusers. I think it's a lot of fear accepting that title. It's embarrassing, especially because so many of us walk this, you know, day to day thinking that we're probably very healthy, sane people, and we don't want to admit that we do have some issues. You know, we do have things that's going on.
Right.
Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. We have to admit that even being human, we all have flaws. We all have issues. We all have something we're dealing with. Some stuff is bigger than others, you know, that people are dealing with, and it manifests. Other people are able to manage, but everyone is not resilient. And it's okay to say, I got a problem, or I've done something wrong, or I'm doing something that's hurting people. I think it's very important to admit that so that you can get help to try to stop it.
Why is it so hard to do it? And, you know, why is it so hard to admit that, hey, I have hurt this person? What I mean, what is it? I know it's got to do with, you know, it's an ego thing with men, but why is it so hard for just a person just to admit, hey, I was wrong, I did wrong, or to admit that, you know what, I lied on that individual. I was the one who was causing, or I contributed in this manner.
Shame, mental health issues, the list goes on and on and on, Bert. It just depends on that individual, the way we were raised. Some of us was raised, some of us like to use excuses. Some of us don't want to, just don't want to admit that we're wrong. And until we can do that, we'll never change.
Can you come immune to a certain behavior?
Most definitely.
Meaning that if it started, like you say, it was a generational thing, you just feel that this is the normal way of life, of living?
especially if you haven't been exposed to other things in life that make you realize that I don't have to be this person anymore. One of the things for me, I grew up in South Memphis, and I had a pretty good life, but it wasn't all that, you know. Then once I was exposed to people in junior high and high school, I was exposed to a different race. And I was like, hey, I can do that. I can be like that. I can talk like that. I can dress like that. So, you know, even though when we grow, Sigmund Freud is one of the theories to social work world, and talk about just, you know, from birth to being to death, and those series that we go through. And once we meet other individuals, we can pick up good behaviors or we can pick up bad behaviors, but we do become our environment. As we get older, though, some of us just like that cliche, you can't change a leopard's spots. Some of us just become a leopard and we won't let those spots change, but some of us do strive for change. Some people wake up and say, you know what, I don't like being unhappy. I don't like being disgruntled. I don't like being bitter. Let me change this. So, but you have other people that are very comfortable with that. That's who they are. They're immune to it. And I tell people, don't get comfortable because it's not a good look.
And they always go have a victim mentality.
You're gonna always have that mentality.
Miss Gail.
Yes, Bert.
You'll talk to me.
Gail's stomach is growling over here. She can get me.
Okay, that's the cue. So hey, I want to thank you again for coming on Mississippi Vibes with Bert. So as we wrap it up, what you want to tell the world? What would y'all would like to tell the world? You know, I had a wonderful time. This is an amazing topic. It has brought a lot of insight into what, you know, I had went through in my life and what I had seen other people, you know, go through. And, you know, I just want to thank y'all for, you know, taking the time out to, you know, giving me this opportunity, you know, and to educate our people because, you know, it's Thursday, I was talking to Dr. Williams, you know, the mental illness that has been a thorn in our side as the African American community is always a hard topic to discuss, you know what I'm saying, because of what our grandparents and parents, you know, we don't believe in therapists. And, you know, and with domestic violence, you have it that it goes on, it happens, you keep your mouth closed, it's nobody else's business. And if you say something, I'm gonna do something to you. So I'm thankful and I'm grateful for y'all for this time because I done had a wonderful conversation and I learned a lot. And I could, you know, I can call and, you know, apologize about some things also, and to also.
Person, there you go.
Right.
But you understand that being that bigger person and doing it, if you're doing it because you're expecting something from that person, you
no.
setting yourself up. So
no.
You're doing it for yourself.
Oh no, yeah. See, I'm at a place and a time in my life that I'm ready to be out of bondage. You know, I'm ready to move in a different space, a different area. You know, I'm ready to understand and know how to accept and give love, respect, care, and all those things. Like I say, I got 4 babies that's, you know, like you say, watching. And so they trying to see how I move, how I'm interpreting things. And so now I got to be able to regurgitate this information to them so they cannot be an abuser or a victim.
Most definitely, yes. I
So,
like
you know, we're gonna do this again. You know, I'm gonna see you next month, and you know, I just think what you're doing is remarkable. I don't, you know, it's you don't get too many people that care. You know, you don't even they can be victims and still they just go on in life like, hey, I'm not gonna help the next person. I done got past that phase in my life. but what you doing to go out and you get homes to give people safe haven. I mean, man, I don't, why you ain't the mayor of Memphis?
That's a big job. I'm leaving it.
I'm serious.
Brooklyn is doing an excellent job right now with that.
Right. I'm just saying.
I'm the mayor of domestic violence right now. Just trying to make some change here. The mayor of Be True. How about that one?
Right. So do you look or accept volunteers to help you with your program, or how do you, or you just keep it within the family? How you do that?
So we do accept volunteers for our events that are held in the community. When it comes to our homes, it's a safe place. And although we want to trust people that say, oh, I put my hand, am I holding my right hand? I got it wrong. Put my right hand on the Bible, and I promise I won't say anything, but it defeats the purpose if we expose everything about these homes to the community, because it opens the door up to an abuser finding them in the family. And that could not only put the house in jeopardy, it could put the whole neighborhood in jeopardy.
Right.
And that's something that will weigh on my conscience, as well as I'm pretty sure my members. So, but when it comes to our community events, most definitely, you can always visit our website, www.beetru.org. We're doing next year, due to COVID, we are honoring teachers at our first gala in Memphis.
Right.
Hey, that's
I can put my tongue on.
The real unsung heroes that are teachers and are dealing with these kids every day that are coming with trauma because they saw mom or dad fighting and arguing and fussing, and they didn't sleep, and they're trying to step into adult roles. And the older kids are trying to comfort the younger kids and still get up and go to school. So teachers have a hard job, and we're going to be, myself and Tim George, shout out to my business partner on that end. Not only have we done plays together, but we're doing this. We know it's going to be successful, but we didn't stop the acknowledging teachers on our social media outlets, but the event will be May 8th. 2021 at the Holiday Inn Airport in Memphis, Tennessee. If you know a teacher from Arkansas, Tennessee, or Mississippi, we can bring them on in for a nomination. But we do hope people come out, because proceeds from that benefit not only give teachers the recognition they need, but it helps us buy more homes and put furniture in them and support our programs within Be True Awareness Outreach, Inc. So that's pretty much it for us. Our thing is we come with with a big vision, our mission: educate, elevate, and empower. I think we've done a great job at doing it tonight. I'm sorry, I do toot my own horn. Beep, beep.
You're supposed to.
No, people learn. Look at you. You even gave us some information tonight. So, and that's the whole thing. That's the outcome we receive. And so we do workshops where we come out and spend 2 hours with individuals. The proceeds from that goes back into the nonprofit. You can donate things to us that we need. You get a tax write-off. We are a 501c3.
The shirts.
Yeah, the shirts. We have shirts, as you can see, Cash App. When you scan this baby, money comes straight to us.
I need a black one.
You need I got you. I got you. Okay. I got you.
So what's the date again? May 8th, 2021.
Yes. The real unsung heroes will be awarded at the first gala honoring teachers in Memphis, Tennessee. I don't know about anywhere else, but in Memphis, Tennessee. And like I said, we're not just honoring teachers in Tennessee, but Mississippi and Arkansas. If they're willing to drive here and accept that award, we got a bunch of goodies. We got people like Chick-fil-A that's willing to sponsor us. We need more sponsors. So the opportunity to sponsor those events. If you all know, we're calling Eddie, the comedian teacher, to come out and be our speaker. So I'm putting it in the universe. So now it has to happen. Shout out to Simone with WREG, who believed in us and allowed us, or gave us the opportunity to talk about this event on WREG and just spread that information across not just Memphis, but the United States. So like I said, we're just a group of individual men and women are part of Be True. the majority of the people are individuals who were there when I was being abused, as well as some who have come into this organization afterwards. We have one young lady whose sister was shot almost 3 years ago. She had to actually go patch the right side of her sister's face up 3 days before her twin's birthday. So again, if you heard what I just said, her sister was shot 3 days before her twin's birthday. So just imagine how they'll be living their life, thinking about their aunt was killed 3 days before their birthday. So this is real, everyone. Domestic violence, also known as intimate partner violence now. And we're asking you to help us break the silence associated with domestic violence. Please never allow anyone to remove your crown. You are a king, you are a queen. Gail's shirt says, be strong, heard, true, be you. It starts with you. We are BEE, capital T, lowercase r, capital U. We have resources on our website and on our social media outlets. They're primarily geared towards Memphis, Tennessee, but Gail can give you the nationwide hotline numbers. So.
All right, the nationwide hotline number is 1-800-799-7233.
There's a victim that needs to hear that, and also an abuser. So take advantage of that, please, and take advantage.
Can you repeat that number again, Miss Gail?
1-800-799-7233.
Y'all all right with me? Now, one more question now.
Yes.
What kind of tux I supposed to wear to the gala?
Man, whatever you want to wear. We just need you to be suited and booted and there on time and ready to air this thing live.
Oh yeah, I do that, but I got some words of encouragement and everything I'm gonna do and say, and because I got to get the microphone.
You need to let some of our teachers come on your show. We have some amazing.
Yeah, hey, you set it up, and it's Saturday and Sunday. I'm willing and able. I'm ready. I know next Sunday though we're doing a Mother's Day special.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a lot of the guys. We're gonna get together and we just gonna come on and talk about our mothers, grandmothers. That important woman in their life. So but anytime that I know what them teachers going through. I know them parents been lying. I know them parents been lying to my baby ain't doing what they said in their email. You just lie.
Oh, yes. It is a hard job.
Your baby was that. Now they don't know how to, I'll tell you this, then we're gonna go. I was talking to one of my partners out of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's strange since the pandemic came. People take they spend a lot of time, they work their butts off to buy a home. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, if you're not paying into that principal of that home, you locked in for 30 years. Mm-hmm. So you telling me they done told your butt to stay at home and you hate to stay in somewhere $1,000 a month.
You made a good point.
You can't even enjoy your investment because you have to think about it. Before the pandemic, you work 40 hours. Mm-hmm. You're spending 10 to 15 hours traveling back and forth to work. Mm-hmm. Then you add about 5 hours until, you got to stop at the grocery store. Now Johnny needs some stuff for school. So what we're looking at, 60, 65 hours a week, you spend away from your $300,000-400,000 investment. Mm-hmm. That's crazy that you have this time to spend on getting yourself together, getting your mind together, your body, everything, your soul. Mm-hmm. Then on the other side, I said to him, you know how many parents really don't like their kids? Seriously. Think about how the child abuse has went up.
It has.
You see it.
You work for the Department of Children's Services, so I totally understand.
Right. You those teachers are not lying on your kid. Mm-hmm. You know what you sending out that door. I get a call. I don't know. I know my kids. I don't be surprised. I never been that type of parent to.
Well, I have one down and one to go. So yeah, but
okay, I got a long way to go.
Bert, this has been amazing. Just want to wrap it up again by saying, if there is a victim and or an abuser that has watched part of this message, know that there's help out there for you. Mental health is real. It's going to get really, really worse once this pandemic is over. It's getting there already. Please talk to somebody today. And if you think you want to hurt someone, try to be the bigger person and walk away. Mr. Robinson gave a great testimony today. It is okay, guys, to say, I'm wrong. I made a mistake. What I'm doing is not right. And if it's a woman out there that's an abuser, it is okay to say, I'm hurt, I'm damaged, and I want to become a better me. So we got to stop. And I say, take this time, like you said. I love that scenario you gave, which is very true about the investment, and you don't want to be there. Let's grow healthy homes. There were times where we were a village, we were a family. There are some things that's never going to stop, but we can try to make some amends to some things. Let's build healthy relationships, please.
Right. GAIL.
I love my 99-year-old cousin.
Right.
She gonna get me. She said she gonna beat me up. We talking about all this abuse, and she just said she gonna beat me up. Nah, she joking for me.
Right, I know.
Yeah, will not hit a fly.
I already know. She's dangerous though. She quiet. You know what they say about them quiet.
Now she's been married for 20 years, so 20 plus years.
Right. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Hey, we're gonna do this again. We go talk, Miss BOUGARD, and we're gonna get some of those teachers together. And it's a shame that the kids, I know we're getting off a little subject, but it's just it bothers me. It's a shame that a lot of kids and parents allowing their kids not to do their classwork.
Mm-hmm.
You think these people just finna send you to the 10th, 11th grade?
Mm-hmm. They are. They really are. But yeah.
But it's still gonna be damaging to that child, because now we gotta add all these classes on that you did not pass.
I'm gonna stay in my lane, Bert, because I don't want any of these teachers that's gonna be awarded in my ceremony calling somebody, hey, you talking about teacher stuff. I was a substitute teacher, and at that point I decided this ain't for me. So
mercy.
But most definitely we can get these teachers on here to talk about that's some real talk. Right. And let them know their job is hard. And I know the awardees that we have for Be True Gala, and just my son teachers, I still just see the love and the care. I get so many emails from one teacher. I want to say, lady, will you please stop emailing and texting me? But that's a good thing. And I just see the glow on my son's face when I say, hey, look what Miss Such and Such said. Look what Mr. Such and Such said. So he like, they still emailing, we out of school. Even Friday, I said, your teacher sent work and school is out, but he sat down and did it. So that meant something to me. I was like, let me text her back and say, hey, he did the work. She was like, what? Thank you. So we need it. Like I said, part of our mission is education, and education is the key to anything. When we know better, we do better.
Miss Bruce, Miss BOUGARD, Be True. Thank y'all. We're gonna do it again. Keep doing wonderful things, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the world, never allow anyone to remove your crown. Peace. We love you.
Love you.
Bye-bye. Yes, another great episode. I would like to thank the ladies for granting me that opportunity. It was a great show. I was able to, talk and share some things that happened in my life, some things that I was doing years ago, some things that, that I was dishing and, I was receiving. But domestic violence is real, and we're gonna do better as a nation to stop these numbers for continuing to rise daily, weekly, monthly. So next week, I have May 9th, next Saturday, I have Frank Nichols coming on, the former police chief in Starkville, Mississippi. He was the first ever Black African-American police chief in my city. Also, next Sunday, we having a Mother's Day special. We're gonna send a shout out to all the mothers for the remarkable thing they have done for generations. You know what I'm saying? Without our mothers, we wouldn't be here. Shout out to my wonderful mother, Mildred. Love you. And, you know, I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining Mississippi Vibes with Bert.